Hello, it's Wyldwych here, and this is a video where I'm going to be responding to Lygia Resurrected, an honest opinion sort of thing. I think it's called an honest opinion. Anyway, I'll put it up, no doubt I'll put a subtitle in. And I made some notes, and I have watched some of the replies from various people, and let's have a look at my little notebook. So who have we got? We've got people who've responded are Nephilim Incorruptus and Sarah Darlene, Rose Nocturnalia, Morella Reborn and Daily Drastic. So there's quite a few people who've responded. So my video might be a bit long. I've also gone a bit sort of all out goth for this one because I think it warrants it. You know, this is an honest goth talk. So let's go on, get on with it. So Adrienne, Lygia Resurrected, spoke about the decline in the goth YouTube community over the past 4 years. Now, I don't really know about that because I've only been YouTubing a very short amount of time. So I've no idea what the goth YouTube community was like. As somebody who, is a bit older, all this sort of technology stuff's a bit new to me. So, anyway, I don't know about any decline in the YouTube community. So Nephilim Incorruptus basically spoke about why the prevalence of YouTubers and why things have declined a bit. Life gets in the way, doesn't it? You know. Sometimes I think if people are looking for a popularity contest, if they've got low subscribers, then they probably are a bit off-put by it. If they're looking for fame and fortune on YouTube, then I think they're probably going about it in the wrong way. That YouTube is out there as a tool and resource as other forms of social media are, for those of us who wish to involve ourselves with social media and to meet like-minded people, for which YouTube is just one of the many avenues that we can choose. You know, we can choose Facebook, Twitter, whatever, you know. So obviously Daily Drastic said about, you know, if somebody has low numbers, then they feel they might get laughed at by the subscribers from larger channels. I think it's probably due to sort of, you know, a lot of I'm generalizing, but a number of us in the community probably are quite insecure, and it was one of the reasons why we are how we are and why we became sort of different, if you like, because, you know, there's that, you know, we've had various reasons why we become part of the community. Lots of different strands of our lives lead us to looking for the darker elements of life. It's and also being why people start YouTube channels. Some people see it as a bit of a popularity contest. Well, I personally don't think that. I think that being able to YouTube sort of opinions and views and being able to share them amongst like-minded people is what it's about. Back in the day, back in the sort of 80s, 90s, I used to have a lot of pen friends, and a lot of them were in the goth community, and it was all around the world. I was writing to people in America, Italy, Germany, France, everywhere, and, you know, it was lovely to be able to connect with people. And I think what we have now with social media is that ability to connect, but instantly connect. I'm very fortunate that I'm still friends with a couple of people that I used to write to years ago, including people in the UK and so on. So that is important. So what replaced the pen friend community has become social media, and it's meant that those connections are instant. So we're finding people who are into the same stuff that we are very quickly, which is great, and I applaud that. It's important, and it's important for us to have those sense of community, if you like. So back on to some of the points. Lygia Resurrected, Adrienne, said that when she went to when she went to, sorry, I'll take a breath. When she went to New Orleans and she was recording this sort of documentary, she met with some elder Goths and she was quite concerned that she wouldn't be taken seriously. And now I think that's terrible that she would have to fear that. As somebody who moved towns myself, I moved from a place called Stoke-on-Trent to Manchester, and I was worried that perhaps I wasn't going to meet other Gothic type people. And in fact, I was quite surprised because I did. I went into a local occult bookstore and there were some Goths in there, so I got to know them very well, and we became very good friends. And then I went along to the Vampire Society. I found out that they met every month in Manchester, so I went along to there. I made some good friends there too. And it was very much a community thing, and we used to go for nights out and all sorts of things. And yeah, I can understand how she felt going somewhere unusual and somewhere where she didn't know anybody, to suddenly being immersed into a culture that is very accommodating. I certainly will say that amongst the Goths that I met, everybody was friendly, everybody was accommodating and opening and just really accepting of who you are as a Goth. And I think if people are like, basically, the reason I think people are like that is because we all know what it feels like to be the only Goth in the village, as Daily Addressed puts it. You know, we we are quite isolated because of the way we are, and because of, you know, perhaps because we're more inclined to see things differently to the majority of people, and to because we have that interest, that sort of slightly macabre interest in the darker things in life, and, you know, cemeteries and death and skulls and bats and all that sort of stuff, that yes, we are more likely to attract some form of what am I looking word I'm looking for now? They're more likely to attract people who are going to ridicule us. Now that tends, in my experience of down the years of having been into Goth for a long time, since I was in my teens, that only came from people outside of the Goth community. It never came from people who were Goths themselves. Generally speaking, amongst the Goth community, you know, you'd walk into the toilet somewhere and there'd be a bunch of Goths hanging around and think, oh my God, what am I going to do? And somebody'd immediately comment on, oh, I love your necklace. I love your dress. Oh, where did you get those shoes? And that's the kind of community it was. And that's the community that I see now, certainly amongst older Gothic types. It's still the same, you know, people are still the same. Regarding sort of younger Goths, I don't really know any apart from people online, so I can't say that how they are, other than what I've seen from YouTube videos and so on, and from the Goth community online. And I think, though, that the culture of being different has changed. Once upon a time, we expressed ourselves because this is how we wanted to look. We wanted to look different. We wanted to kind of be seen to be different, and DIY was a very big part of the Goth community and culture because there was nowhere to buy clothes from. I come from a place called Stoke-on-Trent. The only place that I could buy clothes from was hippie shops, so I wore a lot of tassel-y skirts and you know, just stuff like that. You know, you couldn't buy black lipstick, and you couldn't buy, you know, there's certain things you couldn't get unless you went to a big town like Manchester or Birmingham or various places like that. which is what I did, you know, as I got older. I ended up going out to those places to buy clothes specifically. The brands weren't available. They were available through mail order. There was like Phase, who was a company who would do stuff by mail order. I mean, I'm sure that some of the elder goths out there will remember Phase clothing. But yeah, there was very few places you could buy stuff that was great. So inevitably you ended up making up looks yourself by buying the odd piece here and there, and then kind of adapting it and putting things to it and using scissors and sewing skills and coming up with something new and original. So the sort of goth uniform, as it was, didn't exist, you know. A lot of the companies that are out there now didn't exist, and it's only through people sort of from my generation who have started to make clothes and become successful at it that has led to this sort of renaissance, if you like, of new goth available clothing, that now we can buy clothes online and on eBay and all sorts of places, and we can find things that yeah, are still different, but to what, you know, your average person wears, but are nice all the same. But yeah, it doesn't matter about labels, and I think this is something we need to step away from in the goth community, is that oh, unless you're wearing Hal Bunny, then you're not a goth. That never existed. As part of the old goth community, you wore what you could get hold of. You wore whatever black clothing you could get hold of, whether it was hippie clothes or whether it was velvet or whatever. You know, I used to love, and still do love, going around the shops at sort of around about Christmas time when all the velvet comes in, because that's when, you know, goths used to buy their clothes, is in the winter, because it was the only time they could buy stuff that they liked, you know, crushed velvet and so on, you know, and for years I had the same wardrobe, you know, that I wore a lot of stuff out because you had to, because the stuff wasn't available. So yeah, so that's kind of that point really. What else have we got? There's a certain, Adrienne suggested there's a hypocrisy and an inclusiveness, that unless you fit the mould of being a popular goth, well, once upon a time there was no such thing as a popular goth. Every goth was pretty much the same, you know. We were just who we were, and that was it. Yeah, the Rose Nocturnalia said that made a point about those seeking fame and they're earning internet respect points, because they've jumped on it as a trend. I think you'll find that a lot of us out there have not jumped on it as a trend. It's something that we have been into for a long time. Okay, if you're young and you're just getting into sort of goth and the gothic subculture, then yes, you know, it is going to be difficult for you to be seen as anything less than perhaps jumping on a trend, and that maybe you'll grow out of it. I know people who were goths when they were teenagers but don't look at themselves as being goth anymore, and, you know, listen to all sorts of music that they wouldn't have listened to before. I think if you're an inclusive goth, then you accept people as they are, regardless of what they look like, regardless of how they're dressed. So if someone says that they're a goth, generally speaking, as we get older, we say, yeah, okay, if you say you're a goth, then you're a goth, you know. There's no brownie points, internet respect points or whatever. You just either are or you're not. And yes, I think that something that happens as you get older is there is a certain amount of conformity that takes place with the way that you look, that we are more likely to become a bit more conformist as we get older. And that's because of like fitting into society, I think, and also because, you know, maybe we've got children and we perhaps don't want to be seen as being odd or labelled as odd. You know, some of us went through things in the workplace that once people found out we were goth or anything, you would get overlooked for things because they thought you were weird, you know. I mean, I remember having a running joke somewhere that I worked that, you know, the reason I wanted Halloween off was because I was going to the Whitby Goth weekend. And the running joke was because I was going to actually get naked and dance around fires, and I said, well, actually, that's only half of it. And we used to have a running joke about, the fact that I was into in the Vampire Society, and that. But I always felt that in some respects I was held back from being able to do certain things because I was viewed as weird. I was a weirdo. Even though at work, I wore no makeup. I used to put my hair in a bun and used to, conform to what was necessary to be in the job. Outside of work, people wouldn't recognise me. I quite liked that. I quite liked that I had this kind of double life, if you like. Even though I didn't really have a double life, I was still the same inside. There's a certain comfort that can come from that. And of being a bit conformist, but actually not being conformist at all. And it used to be that the dyed black hair was a giveaway. So quite often you'd stumble across other goths in the workplace because they had dyed black hair, and it was like, you're a goth as well. Oh my god, we must stick together. So yeah, it was a bit funny, but funny times. But and things are more accepting now. I think probably because some of us that are a bit older have gone into the workplace dressed how we want to dress, and have become corporate goth or whatever, and have kind of made it our own. The Gothic subculture was all about making it your own, as it came out of the punk movement. There's certainly the sort of, I'm talking about the sort of 70s 80s type thing. It came out of the punk subculture. So yeah, it was about being different. Anyway, I'm going off the point a bit. There has been another point that was brought up regarding the lack of enthusiasm to talk about Gothic literature from the 17th and 18th centuries, and that we're losing that as a means of finding out who we are. Well, I mean, if you trace it back further, you can look at the Gothic architecture of the Norman period. The stuff that came over from the Middle East with the builders of the various cathedrals and from down the ages. It goes back a long way, the sort of Gothic, if you like. So yeah, we've got architecture is it something that went even further back than the literature. The reason why Gothic literature became popular was because people were seeing death around them a lot. During the 17th and 18th centuries, we didn't have modern medicine, and people died of consumption. They died of really debilitating diseases. There was a lot of it around. People were dying in childbirth, children were dying. There was a lot of death around. We're quite lucky in the 21st century that we have healthcare and that people are generally looked after. We still have death, obviously, but the fact was that, during previous times, death was part of life. And the fact that we had people like Bram Stoker, Mary Shelley, and other authors who were exploring the themes of life and death in various ways, and certainly with Mary Shelley looking at Frankenstein, looking at how we can defeat death, and with Bram Stoker looking at an immortal character. You look at, Bram Stoker got some of his inspiration from the folk tales of Europe. Perhaps he was speaking about people who bleed people dry, in other ways. Whether it's through taxes or something, we have to look at, if you look at Dracula specifically, Dracula was a lord of in his castle. He wasn't short of a few quid. Perhaps it was an analogy towards people who bleed people dry, who prey on the more vulnerable and take from the vulnerable. And the reason he came to England was to start to bleed people from this country too. So if you look at it on a different level, you can look at it on very various levels. So certainly Dracula can be looked at on different levels. It can be the films unfortunately have made it a bit sexy to be a vampire. If you read the book is quite dark in other ways. yes, he has his brides, but also there's it deals with insanity, it deals with so many different subjects and from so many different perspectives as well. It is definitely a book to read if you're interested in Gothic literature. And same with Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Read it. You know, if you are at all interested in it, read it. Now, not everybody likes Gothic literature. It is long-winded. It is, you know, Dahlia Drastic said that, you know, she doesn't like a lot of Gothic music. She doesn't like a lot of literature, Gothic literature, and that's fine. That's okay. As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't make you any less of a goth. You know, I used to have a vast collection of Dracula and vampire movies on DVD. No, on video. I had a huge VHS collection of vampire movies, and some of them were atrocious, but some of them were really quite brilliant. And you know, it doesn't really matter what you're into. The fact is, if you say you're a goth and you're interested in those darker sides of life, whether it's the cutesy darker side of things, so you like fluffy bats and you like plushies and whatever, you're still a goth. Yeah, it doesn't matter. You're still a goth, you know. And I look at you know, photographs and film footage from the Kilted Goth and his place, and he's got taxidermy and skulls everywhere and bones for this, that and the other, and it's brilliant. People are expressing who they are as a goth, and that's important, and there should be more of that. A lot of people don't know that I'm a goth, mainly because like nowadays I tend to sort of conform a bit. I have been conformist for quite a while. Like I say, I have this dual side to my character. It's a different world that we're living in now, and those of us that have forged ahead and were goth and were very different back in the day, you know, yeah, we're probably a bit edgy and a bit different, and that's okay, and it's okay to be different. And I think I'm rambling really, aren't I? I'm kind of going off point again. So let's get back to my notebook and see what's what. So again, the reasons why people start a YouTube channel. Morella Reborn said that it was about, you know, being weird or being awkward, trying to be friends with all goths. And there's a difficulty in interacting with all YouTubers. Yes, there probably is a difficulty in interacting with all YouTubers. Dahlia Drastic said about elder goths, and a lot of them are elitists. I personally have never found that. As I said, I moved from Stoke to Manchester, and I never found the goths were elitist. They all looked fabulous. Trust me. You know, some of them could be classed as, you know, goth celebrity from back in the day, because of the areas that they worked in. You know, I knew musicians, I knew animators, I knew people who were just general creatives who had real jobs as creatives, and they just happened to be goths as well. And there was no elitism with those people. Those people were very accepting and very accommodating, because back in those days, back in the 80s and 90s, people stuck together because we were different. You know, things like the Gothic Whitby Goth Weekend was a new thing. You know, the Gothic subculture was building at that point. It isn't what it is now. I mean, nowadays it's vast. It is absolutely vast, and you know, I like the fact that it's become a bit more real, and that it's okay, and that younger people out there are exploring that side of themselves. My eldest daughter even has said that she's a goth, and I think, well, okay, you've got a long way to go yet, but that's okay. You know, it's cool if people want to identify with the Gothic subculture, let them identify with it, whether it's for 5 minutes, half an hour, or the rest of their lives. It doesn't matter. The fact is, if they say they're a goth, that's great. They're a goth, yeah. Yes, loyalty to your YouTube fans is important. Dahlia Drastic again brought that up. And it shouldn't be a popularity contest. You know, yeah, we're making videos because we like making videos. as I said, it's something I've only just got into, and yes, I'm using it as a way to connect with other people, and I mean, it does seem a bit odd just vox popping to a camera and not really kind of knowing what I'm saying or kind of having a plan really. Certainly with this one, it's not been planned out. I've just made notes and gone with that. So yeah, it shouldn't be a popularity contest. It shouldn't be about how goth you are. About, you know, oh, you must be judged on how many people subscribers you've got. And I know that Adrienne had a little bit of a pop at It's Black Friday. Now, It's Black Friday, she makes great videos, yeah? I will not knock Black Friday. I think she's brilliant. I love her videos. Yeah, she's got a fabulous life, and, you know, maybe she doesn't connect with everybody. But that's probably because she's so busy. And when you've got a million subscribers or 100,000 subscribers, you can't possibly connect with everybody. I think that those of us who've got fewer subscribers should perhaps think about that. Maybe, and just kind of, I'm going to put this in now, if maybe there's a little bit of jealousy there, that because you haven't got 100,000 subscribers means that perhaps you don't feel that it's fair. Just throw that in there. The fact is that we're all out here doing what we're doing. We're all doing our little videos and we're all putting them on the internet, and we're just seeing what happens with them. And yeah, it's important that we do that. It's important that we keep doing that. Yeah, life gets in the way. There are going to be times when I probably won't make videos because life gets in the way, and you know, I'm busy doing other things, and that's okay. And then we must remember that we're also human beings. Yeah, we also have lives outside of YouTube, outside of Facebook, outside of social media. Yeah, for some people it is the place where we connect with people, and for other people it is something we dip in and out of. I'm someone who dips in and out of it. I promote my businesses through Facebook and so on, because I'm a musician as well as doing lots of other things. And I think that we need to kind of get real, you know, get real. It's okay, yeah? And to say it's okay. If you say you're a goth, you're a goth. If you are interested in the origins of goth, explore it. If you're not interested in the origins of goth, it doesn't matter. You know, a goth by any other name is still a goth. Don't worry about popularity on YouTube. Don't worry about having 100,000 subscribers. Just carry on making the videos. There are those of us out there who will watch them, who are keen to watch perhaps not every Gothic YouTuber's video, but certainly we may select some of them because we like the content, we like the person behind it, we like what they're saying. So yeah, it's about getting those responses, I suppose, and certainly this is obviously a response to several posting videos even. So yeah, I've been rambling quite a bit now, and I'm very much aware of that. So I'm going to wrap this up by saying it doesn't matter. You know, life is far too short to worry about what every other YouTuber out there is doing. Focus on yourself. Focus on doing what makes you happy, and everything else will just fall into place. It's all gravy, yeah? It's all gravy. It's all good, yeah? If you're goth, you're good. And if you're not goth, you're good. It's okay. Life is life. Just live it. Yeah, live your life. Enjoy your life. Don't worry about being accepted or not being accepted, because at the end of the day, you know who you are. Yeah? You know who you are. And I'm going to leave it at that. I'd like to say goodbye. If you would like to link, click and subscribe and do all the usual stuff that we do on YouTube, and I shouldn't really have to tell anybody about that. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. It doesn't matter. If you want to respond to it, respond to it. That's good too. We'll keep the conversation going. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.